Welcome to Reuters Events Pharma USA 2026. And today I'm joined by Maria Whitman, who is the Managing Partner at Global Commercialization Strategy and Solutions at ZS. Maria, thank you very much for coming to talk to me today. I just wanted to pick up on some of the points that you made in your presentation, which was really insightful. You talked about zero distance to the patient as a directive, not just an aspiration.
Correct.
So for leaders, what's the first signal that their organization is still too far from the patient, and what's one concrete move they can make to close that distance?
That's a really great question. First of all, when we say zero distance, I think a lot of people think it's a mission or a vision, right? And the first concrete move is actually making it the directive on which we act, on which we put all of our energy and all of our effort together with our collective organization. The first clue that we're too far is, we in pharma have historically based most of our energies, most of the effort and investment we're making against the patient journey. Do you know how many patients, what percentage of patients in the US do not engage with the system till they're already sick?
Tell me.
44%.
Wow.
Okay, so our first problem, our first big gap is if we are designing against the patient journey and many patients are not following that journey in the way we expect them to, we're already missing a ton of those patients in action. Then the next gap, because I think it's important that you connect it through, is, then we spend time targeting really important points in that journey. Points like RX to fill, where we're spending a lot of time and effort on patient services. And if you really look at that, what are we doing? We're solving a lot of individual frictions. We're solving, the prior authorization challenge. We're solving the time to pharmacy challenge. But we're not actually solving the whole piece of the system. And so what's happening is the patient is becoming their own project manager. So I think when you say, what's the first signal we're doing? The first signal is if we are redesigning for points and not for the workflow, if we're redesigning for one friction and not reinventing how patients are experiencing it. So what's one concrete thing we can do? I brought together a framework that says if we really want to live in a directive of zero distance to the patient, we have to uncover and find zero barriers. We have to make zero barriers, which means find the most important places in an ecosystem that we can have a difference, that we can redesign a workflow. That's first part. Second part is then we have to have no silos, okay? We have to actually design plays that mean we're all moving in that common directive together. And silos aren't just our internal silos, it's also us working in partnership with providers and other organizations. And then we have to challenge ourselves on zero waste, because if we're going to put our effort and energy against a few common goals where we can really make a difference and bring the weight of our organization against it, then we have to stop doing anything that's not in service to those goals, even if it's familiar. So those are my three main moves for leadership today.
You made the point that AI hasn't failed, but design has, which is a great line. But if leaders really want AI to actually reduce that distance, how are they going to do it without just making yet more dashboards? And so what should they be looking to redesign first? Decisions, workflows, accountability?
You hit it on the nail with the last part. It's really about the decisions and the accountability of those decisions. Look, this is the conversation with all leaders I have right now. It's this divergence in what we expect and what we're getting, the incremental. And it's because if we build a dashboard, but we don't change how fast we can make a decision, that was a waste. If we put up more insights, we actually generate through AI greater insights, but we don't change who or what in the future can act on that and how fast, that's a waste. And so I think when I say that AI hasn't failed, design has, what's happening is if you really step back and look at the last 18 months or so in the industry, we've got three phases that almost everybody's going through. Nowhere to somewhere, somewhere to everywhere, which is like pilot mania, right? And then finally, we find a little bit of focus and we create real value. And so I think what we need to do is we need to step back and say, look, there's certain work streams, there's certain decisions that will inherently drive more value for our organization because they are connected to our end goal. Bold goals like, hey, we want to reduce the time to peak of our products by half. Right now the industry spends on average 8 years. Only 10% make it there in 4. That was the old average years ago. How do we get back to that? So you put your whole organization against that. You put your AI talent and your effectiveness against that. Then all of a sudden you've got a discernible goal. And it's really about how do we change up the decisions to get there? Because, at the end of the day, AI is a decision tool, not a dashboard tool.
If we're serious about zero distance, then which point in the patient journey do you think we should be, which creates the most unnecessary friction, let's say? And why hasn't the industry yet cracked that problem?
First of all, it's not just the industry's problem to crack, it's all of healthcare's problem to crack. And if you heard my talk, I even talk about some of the institutions that are out there trying to change this.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pick one because I don't know about you. I struggle with the system in general. I haven't had a primary care doctor in years because, like 24% of Americans, you don't feel heard. You don't feel like you're listened to. So I think there's many, many problems across. I think the better question is, where can we have impact immediately now? And there's two places I think we can do that now. There is a serendipitous moment right now in direct to patient. Everyone in the industry needs some form of a direct to patient strategy. Because we need to have cash pay models available, because many brands, not everyone, but many are going to need e-commerce, click to buy opportunities for patients to get their drugs faster. But if that's all we achieve, it's a wasted moment because direct to patient consumerism, I mentioned the 44%, right? A lot of people are working around the industry right now. If we can do what UCB and mesothelioma gravis did, if we can actually take a moment where we're saying direct to patient is a chance for us to rewrite the script of care. Okay. So now I'm not just saying, let me get you the drug. I'm saying, let me take this point to diagnosis, which takes 7.3 years. Let me rewrite that so that I find you in a more targeted way. I get you in front of a research tool designed by a specialist, which you wouldn't normally see till way later in your journey. And I give you a tool that means the first doctor you see has a much higher potential to actually diagnose you. The results can be amazing. In 6 months, they diagnosed 20 patients, which is incredible. So I think that direct to patient is a moment where I challenge all of pharma to say, we're going to do it. How do we use this as a moment to rework care to where patients are and how they need it? And I got to tell you, in examples like that, we're spending less money, not more, to do it. And we're doing it in better ways for patients. So that's number one. I think the second opportunity is by saying, look, anywhere we're going to play, are we actually solving for the barriers that are most important to the patient in the ecosystem? As an industry, we've started to cling on to this idea of barriers-driven engagement. There is an opportunity right now with CRM, with the change, the split with Salesforce and Viva in the industry to say, all these things we're talking about, changing workflows, AI, et cetera, we can challenge ourselves to attack any part of the patient journey better and in a less siloed way. If we use this moment with CRM to really move our organization in tandem against singular barriers that matter most to patients in our patient journeys. I mean, we intimately know our patient journeys. We know where patients need us. Let's be the steady foundation for them, and let's bring the full weight of our organization with no silos against it.
Maria Whitman at ZS, thank you so much for those insights to expand on your keynote. It's very, very interesting.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.